another episode of The Balance with Erika B. I'm your host, Erika, and today I am so happy to be here and I'm so excited for this conversation that we're going to have. This is a space for you to have the conversations about motherhood, entrepreneurship, and everything in between, like I always say. Now, I'm going to say welcome to the shit show because 9 times out of 10, it's always a shit show with me and on my podcast. So today I am joined by an incredible guest, Ria. She's the founder of Rewrite Brand Strategies and has an inspiring story to share with us today. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce my guest, Ria, and welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
I am so excited for you to be here and I'm so excited to have this conversation. So I want to start before we start getting into your story and sharing with the listeners about how you became a successful woman in the industry that you're in. I want to start with the icebreaker really quickly.
Sure.
So, before we dive into today's conversation, the question I have for you is if your life right now had to be a theme song, just any theme song you can think of, what would it be?
This is so weird, but I swear sometimes when I'm having a good day, it's like I can hear 24 Karat Magic by Bruno Mars in the back of my head.
That's a good one. I
It's
like
a good
that
one, right?
song. I like that because it's very upbeat and it
Yes.
makes you feel happy too. And he reminds me of when who did that song for him? What's that? Oh, what's that show that I watch? Where they do the karaoke and it's with LL Cool J, and I love that show. I can't think of it right now. But Zendaya made the remake of
Oh yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
she did the dance and I was like she mimicked every move. Like Zendaya is a beautiful, stunning person. Shout out to Zendaya. But that song is a really, really good song. That could be a theme song for 2020.
It's automatic swag, or as the youngins say, aura.
Oh, yeah. I'm trying to figure out this whole new word, quiet on the creek. And if anybody can tell me in this episode, whenever you leave a comment below, explain to me what quiet on the creek is, because I don't know what that is that everybody keeps saying. And lately everybody's been saying IRL and I'm like, just say in real life. Can we just say in real life? Can we do that?
They
So
can't.
these I want to say these text people want to bring conversations, but they're like, I am you. And I'm like, just say I miss you right now. Just it's not hard. It's not hard.
A little older than you. I didn't even know that.
I'm over it. Like everybody's been doing IRL lately, and I'm like, it's in real life. Just say in real life for me because it's driving me. Now it's driving me up the creek. Not quiet on the creek. It's driving me up the creek. So I like that you picked that as a good theme song. So I think a lot of women today are looking at the redefinition of success and what that looks like. So my question for you to start off is, take us back to the very beginning of your story. Like, how'd you start the brand? What made you go into this industry? I would like for you to share with the listeners.
Sure. So I would say the thing that kicked me off was I realized, I turned 40 something and realized I wasn't living life authentically. I just wasn't. I'm someone who, my mom, when I was younger, she, gave me two options. She was like, doctor, lawyer, that was the two choices I had. And so I listened every once in a while. And so I listened and I, went to law school and did labor and employment law and labor negotiations, and ended up getting into senior leadership, and it was great. But I realized that the reason why I was good at being a labor negotiator, I was a chief labor negotiator, arguing with unions, and I was good at my job because of trauma.
Okay.
That's me. Like, I can argue with people all day long and sustain a whole bunch of stuff coming at me because of trauma. And, I was 40, I think 41, 42 at the time. And I just decided, do I want to continue living like that? And it's not that I hated my job. I wasn't someone who hated my job. I worked with amazing people. Even the opposition, we got along really well.
Mhm.
Just, do I want to be good at something because I endured this trauma, tenderized me and prepared me to do that thing? I don't
Mhm.
know. Um, and so when my husband, he was diagnosed with a brain tumor, um, that made me take a step back. And I realized I was working a lot. The company I worked for was out of state. And so I
Mhm.
was traveling, and I kind of felt like God was leading me to step back. And then a hurricane a hurricane hit, and the hurricane that hit was the same name as my mother-in-law. Rest in peace, may she rest in peace. But she always wanted me to step back and to be more of a stay-at-home mom. And so I
Mhm.
found it funny, like when that hurricane hit, I was just like, and a tree fell on our house, and I was just like, you know what? It did. We were safe. We are completely safe. It ended up being a
Oh.
um, but it was like a sign. It was just like, it's time to go and it's time to step back. And I think I was always someone who was supposed to work for myself,
Mhm.
um, and be a leader, but I never, it took so long for me to even come out of imposter syndrome and to recognize myself as a leader. And
Mhm.
then it took so long after that to recognize myself as someone who could start their own thing. Like it was like God took me through stages. If that makes sense.
I like that because sometimes those stages show you a lot of lessons in between.
Mhm.
It's like my grandmother would always used to say, you got to start living and stop existing a lot of times. And
Mm.
when you're in that kind of transition stage in your life where you're like, okay, have I really been living or have I been doing the things that I want to do? And everybody works. I'm sure whether it's working from home or working an
Right.
actual 9 to 5, but sometimes life teaches you like you really have to live for the things and not take things for granted because you don't know when things could be your last.
Yeah.
And I like how you're sharing your story with our listeners about how where you started and where you were heading towards, because I'm sure that was a tough transition going from you're traveling all the time, you're probably in multiple states, just litigations and things like that, to finally be like, okay, I can breathe. I can breathe a little bit because working from home, people think, oh, they're not doing anything. You're,
Oh, no, I was. I was
yeah,
in all the meetings all day long.
that's
That's
what I'm
definitely
saying, and it's crazy because I wish the whole I was just talking about this the other day with somebody where they're talking about work-life balance really doesn't exist.
mm,
And so I was like, well, in my head, I was kind of like, well, it does. But then after listening to why it doesn't really exist, I was like, okay, I can see you take the middleman out, like throw it away. And I see why it's not really a balance. Because even with me working from home, they think I'm not doing anything. They just think, oh, you're not doing anything. You're supposed to be cooking right now, but that's what the social media side of things is showing people, that,
mhm,
oh, I'm working from home but I'm folding the laundry, I'm working from home and I'm cooking, which that's probably not the case. And
yeah,
so
no, yeah.
when did you realize that version of success no longer fit who you were becoming?
Yeah, it was when someone who was even higher in the organization than I was, like I said to me, like, I don't know how you do your job. And I'm looking at their job and going, I don't know how you do your job. So if you're sitting here looking at me saying, I don't know how to do my job, that's not great. Because
No, that's no, especially for a higher up to say, "Hey, how are you doing it? Because I'm struggling." That says a lot because it's like
right,
I've had people, "How are you doing it on the phones?" I'm like, "You've never taken a phone call and you're in this leadership role and you mean to tell me you just magically got in this leadership role?" And sometimes I feel like when somebody is in leadership, they should take a step back and realizing where they actually have started from the bottom and reached to the top. Because when you're starting at the bottom, you kind of have that same empathy for that person
right.
versus when you're getting in that leadership or you're in that leadership mode and you're like, oh well, I didn't have to be on the phone. So, and then you wonder why when the phones go down and you're looking like where do I go? I've had that situation happen to me where phones went down one day and everybody's panicking. You can see the whole thing just
Yeah.
crashing down and panicking. And I'm like, in my head, you're not prepared for this?
Mm, mm.
You're really not prepared for this? And everybody's, hey, ding, 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 ding. Like, what are we supposed to do? We haven't done this in a while. We haven't done this in a year. How are we supposed to do? Are these calls that are going to get graded? What are we supposed like? I mean, mayhem. And so they're just like, well, use your resources and figure it out. And I'm like, how about you get on the phone and help us a little and see what it feels like? Because sometimes leadership, you could tell that they just aren't doing anything. They just sit back, look at the numbers, and they're not doing anything. So I
I
like
think
how
that's why I always encourage people as you're kind of, you know, I'm in my 40s, but I always encourage younger people and just maybe people in even in general,
Mhm.
to get a wide like birth of experience. Like just get a comprehensive experience. So what I do in my company, we do brand strategy. Like I do brand strategy.
Mhm.
Sometimes to me, it could be anyone. It could be a therapist. It could be a content creator, and I position them for success for what they want.
Mhm.
And the reason why I'm able to do that is because of the comprehensive experience that I've had. I had PR experience, I had media relations experience, and I had legal experience. So I'm able to do things that maybe another brand strategist couldn't do. And they can do things that I can't do either. But
Mhm.
I'm able to not only find the contracts, but then negotiate them.
Mhm.
Um, but it's because of all of that experience. It's really even when I was, in labor law, the PR and media relations experience was super helpful, and so that's why I encourage people to be curious, like what you were saying with leadership. Be curious. I was in a when I worked in labor law. I ended up
Mhm.
having a lot of different parts of the organization having to help and advise, right? So I'm having
Mhm.
to advise people who are security officers and police officers, and then people who are doing maintenance. It's very different parts of the organization.
Mhm.
So I have to be curious. I have to understand what you do. I have to care about what you do and understand it. That's what makes a good leader. That's what makes someone be able to catch blind spots. That's what
Mhm.
makes a good strategist. Even for the company, what I do is I really try to understand what do you want? Not what did someone tell you to want. I'm not asking you what Facebook said to want. I'm not asking what your mother said to want. What do you want? And
Mhm.
I'm really well positioned for people who are either, at the beginning, and then people who are also trying to rewrite where they're at. They've reached a point where it's like, either it's a content creator might say, I've built this following.
Mhm.
I'm not monetized the way I should be. I know something's missing. Or can I become a brand? Or, I have this specialty. How do I become a thought leader?
Mhm.
And so, but it's what do you really want? Let's clear out the noise of other people's opinions of the past. What do you see? What do you desire for yourself? And how then we work backwards to how to get you there.
And I like that because it's like when you ask that question, it does make you think about what exactly do you want in life? Like,
Right.
where do you see yourself? Because, in school, we were taught, like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And you're not
Right.
where you're exactly at in 5 years because that's not the plan that you're going to be. I've always said that I was going to be a violinist. I've been playing the violin since I was like 3, 4 years old. So for me, I was like, yeah, I'm going to be this professional violinist. And then you get in high school and life kind of starts,
Right.
and you're like, is a professional violinist really going to pay the bills? Do you see, do you
That's
see?
it. That's it. That's the thing. That's the now I'm like you. But I had to start the violin back up again at like 39. I started playing the violin because I stopped right around like high school. But I think that's exactly it. You start getting really practical. And
Mm-hmm.
I I tell people this all the time. I did practical really well. Like I did the things. I did
Mm-hmm.
the things that I remember even, I remember being I must have been in my early 20s, late teens. And my mom, she, stands in front of our house and she points to the house next, like across the street from us. And in that house was a couple. They were two professionals.
Mhm.
And we lived in a fairly, especially by the time that at that point, we lived in a pretty expensive neighborhood at that point. But at least the neighborhood was not necessarily our home. She looks out across the street and she says, "That's what I want for you." And it was a couple who was married with no children, both high earning professionals. And she said, like, do not have children until you have that. And it was so ingrained in my head, like
That's
these,
manifestation.
yeah, like these steps. Like I had to be engaged when I left college, and then go to college, go to law school. I had to be on a fellowship, and then I had to like just these. I had to
Mhm.
have a job afterward, like just all these steps. And bought the house with my husband, and then we had children. Like we did all the
Mhm.
stuff, and then you get to a point where you're like, okay, I'm not negating doing it that way. It was good. It probably saved a
Mhm.
lot of headache, but that's not the only way, right? Like that's the
No,
good. That's a good foundation.
that's a good foundation to kind of start on. But then it's
Right,
like when you go through life, you're kind of like in emotion, you know, because it's like
right.
we with our parents, it's like they didn't want us to make the same mistakes as when we, you know, their age. And I always ask, I love to ask this because it's like, I'm like, okay, in a time where you were like in your 30s, right now I'm 36. And I'm like, okay, so when you were 36, what were you doing? You know?
I was getting ready to go into COVID. That's what I was getting ready to happen to me. I was getting
And,
ready. It
and
was called
so,
a reckoning for me. It caused a complete reckoning of what matters. I
mhm,
think I'm not saying the material world doesn't matter. Absolutely.
mhm,
But it's almost like for me, faith is so incredibly important. It's such a big part of my life. And success in the material world to me, it has to be powered by spiritual success.
mhm,
If my success up until COVID to me wasn't anchored in anything substantial. It was box checking.
mhm,
Now, as I've gotten older and anchored it into my faith, because people think it's one or the other, it's a material or spiritual. When I anchored it into my faith, it became more fulfilling and way more robust and more authentic to who God created me to be.
yeah, I think when I feel like I'm still in the checking the boxes kind of thing because I feel like it's still a lot of life to live a little bit more. And I think this career path that I've been chasing, kind of sort of speak, it's almost as speaking back to me because
Mm,
every kind of rejection that I've felt from the industry, which I love the medical field. That's something that I've always said I've always wanted to be in, but I feel like I keep chasing this ladder that it's a never ending ladder.
mm,
Like I'm grateful for the experience. Like you said, it's good to have the
right.
experience because you can have in this belt. But sometimes I kind of wish in my head, like, I'm really good at, you know, all the tech stuff. Why didn't I take a going into tech? Or I'm really good on business side of things. Why didn't I take business management? Why did I wait so much later to think about doing business management? You know, things of that nature.
People are working so much longer now, and careers are so much longer than they used to be, for better
Mhm.
or worse. I think, you know, we don't have it's why I don't know that we have to live in the why didn't I anymore. Because I used to think about this. I used to say, did I really need to do as much schooling as I did? Did I, you
Mhm.
know, and I'm like, everything that I did brought me to this point. Like, I
Mhm.
couldn't be me without having the lived experiences that I have. So, why would I regret any of that? Like,
Mhm.
this, when we start thinking about things as not accidental, a lot of us are like drifting through life. I'm just being honest. And, you
Mhm.
know, some of the technology doesn't always help, but we're like drifting through life as opposed to I'm on this journey. Like,
Mhm.
I'm on a journey and I'm enjoying the journey. So if you're saying to yourself, "Oh, why didn't I go into tech? Why didn't I go into business?" Course correct. Like one step at a time. Take a
Mhm.
class. It's one step at a time, and you're being intentional instead of like you're enjoying the journey, but you're not floating along. You're
Right.
walking the journey, not floating aimlessly. And so it's being honest and saying, I would like to learn more about tech. I would like to learn about more about business. I'm only 36. You know, I can do that. I can make that a priority and do
I
that for
I
myself.
feel like I still have time,
You
but
do.
then I feel like time is still kind of like I don't know, like fighting against me on
Mm.
things, because it's like my hand is in all these different pots, and it's like I just want to be in the field. I just want to be in that kind of field. But then, like I said, how I reverted back to being that professional violinist again, I was like, is it going to satisfy a bill? That's what my mentality still is. It's like, I'm like, okay, is this going to pay the bills?
But can I tell you something? When you are in alignment with what you are meant to do,
Mm-hmm.
it becomes a lot easier to get the thing. Like, do you know what I mean?
It
So,
does. It
you
really
know,
does, because it almost feels like, I've always said, I'm like, I have a 3-year mark at a job, because I'm like, once my 3 years, I've gotten the experience. I want something where I see myself fruition into something higher. And multiple people have came up to me, and you should be case manager, you should be a team lead, you're really good at what you do, you just need to apply for these things. But then it's like, when you apply for them and you get rejected, you kind of just like, is it
yeah,
really, is it really
right.
meant for all that? And so now I'm kind of in this crossroad where my daughter's getting older. I'm not fulfilled in what I want to do. And so I'm almost like, do I continue, or do I start searching for something, or do I just make it to the 3 years and then just move on type thing? Because I feel like once you have kids, you shouldn't stop dreaming to
Right. Oh my gosh.
dream.
No,
You
they need to see
should never
that. They
stop
need to
dreaming.
see you dream. They need to see you work toward your dreams. They
You
need to see
never should stop dreaming. And like, it's I look at my daughter now, because she's always kind of like this. I think she's starting to become like a perfectionist.
that. Mm,
And I tell her all the time, you don't have to be perfect with me. You don't have to be perfect with trying to get that A all the time. This is a brand new grade, a brand new subject. It's going to take time for you to register this lesson. So you're not going to get it overnight. And I think with today and the technology that these kids have, it's almost like they want to get to that quickness so quick. And I'm like,
yeah.
no,
Yes.
you gotta grind it out until you gotta make the mistakes first in order to learn the lessons later, in my opinion.
Yeah.
To redefine that success and redefine what success looks like to you. And they're so right now in the guard of seeing dollar signs, because right now AI is coming into fruition, and AI is solving the problem, whether it's you not solving the problem yourself.
Yeah.
And AI is like redefining a lot. And it's
Yeah.
scary, because I see it with the medical field, where how it's starting to come in. And I think what's going to happen is people are going to take for granted not speaking to a human,
Yes.
you know?
It really started with COVID. I'm not, it just really, I should say exploded with COVID. And in this season of my life, I've had to work a lot harder and be more intentional
Mm-hmm.
about being with other people. you
Yeah,
know,
no, seriously.
like something happens when you're actually interacting with a human. Even this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even we're not in the same state even, but even this, even better when you're in person. There's like a
Mm-hmm.
resonance. There's something that happens when you're connecting with another person,
Mm-hmm.
and we've become just a more reclusive society. And I do wonder how that's going to play out. My children are more reclusive than I was. We're not. They can't just go out and play all Saturday and then come back like kind of like I did.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, they don't want to, so it's just very
No, they don't. And it's crazy, because I'm like, go outside and just play. Just go outside.
no,
Use a
no, for
soccer
real.
ball, use a football, something. Go outside and play. And it drives me crazy, because now they're so computer bound, which I'm like, I don't believe a child should have a computer in first and second grade. Let them be kids.
Mm,
Let them learn. Let them get in the mud and be all muddied up and come home, and they're like, hey, you gotta go take a shower. You stink right now from school. I just feel like technology, and like you said, AI started with COVID, because we were all shut down. We were able to kind of like communicate and have those conversations. And those conversations need to come back to the table. They need to be like, hey, let's all have a family dinner. Let's talk about how your day was going. I think now we're getting into the step of, okay, it's dinner time. Everybody get their food. Everybody separates.
No, I am very. I kind of grew up like that, where everyone kind of ate
Mm-hmm.
by themselves, and I do not have it. Like, we eat at the table together as a family. 9 times out of 10, we are eating together dinner at the table, because there are statistics that back that up. There are stats that say that, like, two stats that I try to live by is that
Mm-hmm.
dinner time stat, where
Mm-hmm.
families that like eat together. I had a friend of mine even suggest, she plays games. Her kids, she's her kids are older, but she played games. They played like card games and different things while they were eating and talk about the day, and it was really low pressure, and it made the kids want to be there.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't done that as often as I should, but we do eat dinner together. And the second one is that, I think it's like couples that pray together. I have like a
Yeah. I,
insanely low divorce rate.
mhm. Because it's like, for me, I think because the way my job is set up, to the point where sometimes I don't get off until like maybe 8, maybe 9 o'clock sometimes.
Hard. That's really hard.
And it's really hard where it, like, throughout the day, my daughter's like, "Are you off yet?" And I'm like, "Nope, not off yet." Oh man. And like she told me the other day, "You just works too much. You just
Mm.
work way too much." And so I had to explain. I said, "Well, when you get older, you'll understand in life that there are things called bills.
Right.
So when you want to live in a big mansion or you want to live on the beach, like you always say, it requires bills." And so I was like, a house is not going to function without their energy and their electricity. It's bills.
Right.
So, and I was like, I understand I work very hard. I understand. And I kind of try to replace on like Saturdays and Sundays where I am giving my undivided attention. We watch Disney movies, cuddle up, and we just watch Disney movies all day, eat a whole bunch of junk food, and just have fun. And I think sometimes she looks at me and she's like, okay, I see that you're working, but you're giving me the time that I'm asking for, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that makes me happy. It makes me fulfilled because by the time I get off, I'm like, I am not answering. I don't even want to look at my phone.
And like life has to
Mhm.
work for everybody differently, right? So maybe your thing is not you eat dinner together. Maybe you guys eat breakfast together.
Mhm.
Like, that might just be the thing. And we're not all going to be able to be like each other. Like, that's the thing
Mhm.
that kind of drives me crazy about. And I make I make a good amount of my money off of social media, because the
Mhm.
people I work with are a lot of them are content creators. So I'm not saying this, to demonize social media, but you also have to be able to think for yourself. There's a balance.
Mhm.
There's a balance about being able to think for yourself, and
Mhm.
every
And I
trend is to be participated in. You don't have to buy everything that you're seeing on social media.
mhm.
Buy some of it, because I represent content creators. So buy some of it,
I
but buy
feel
it to feel authentic to you.
guilty as charged. I feel like, especially for like the elderly, like right now with AI, I tell my spouse all the time. I say, you better hurry up and get equipped with AI. I said, because what you don't realize is AI is changing everything. I hate phones. Why can't we go back to pen and paper and talking to you in person? I'm like, because I'm telling you, they're taking it for granted.
Yeah.
So you might want to appreciate it now. And so it's like, it's crazy because the job field that I'm in, they're starting to change and be like, oh, well, this week the patient is going to put their information in, and then once you hear it, you'll be able to see what they're talking about. And I'm like, this is not going to help an elderly. And
Mm,
so when an elder person calls in, they're very frustrated and they're like, why can't we just talk to somebody? I'm
yeah.
like, I'm sorry. I know the IVR is very stressful and I'll be able to try to see what I can do, you know? And I've always thought or dreamed that I'm going to get into this, have a business of my own, whether it's creating content or getting into the medical field. Something is going to happen, and I keep manifesting that it's going to happen because I want to redefine and restructure what my success looks like at this point,
Mm,
being
yeah.
36. And I see people on social media, and no slide to social media, but I think what happens is we put on a facade on social media where we're not tired and we got the makeup on, and everybody's happy and go lucky. But sometimes I wish I want to see the not the downfall, but the other side of, hey, I'm tired and I just, I had a rough day today, or I had a rough week, and I think it's starting to gear.
Sometimes I see people do that performatively. That's so unfortunate. I've seen people do
Yeah.
that. Yeah, it's you. I think the thing is about discernment. And I think
Mhm.
there's going to be a premium on authentic communication moving forward.
Mhm.
I think it's going to be so rare that you find people who are going to be their authentic selves and communicate authentically that it's going to
Mhm.
be a premium. I think there's going to be a premium on emotional intelligence because
Mhm.
it's going to
I
become
agree.
less and less, readily
Exposed.
available. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
because
so,
I see that too. I see
mhm.
where it's going to people are going to want to see the flip side of things. Like, okay, did you have a bad day? And you're right. People are performing that
Mhm.
pretty well, because I'm like, your tears are not really tears. You're just doing this so you can get a check. Me, on the other hand, I like the being authentic with yourself, because it's like, I'll tell you in a heartbeat. I just told you earlier. Hey, man, I had a rough day last night.
Yeah.
This is
Yep.
not for the
Yep.
weak. And so it's not, parenthood is just not for the weak in general,
Especially not summertime.
especially not summertime. And then, children humble you. They really test it, and then they
Yeah.
humble
No
you.
matter where
And
you are in life, your child will not care. I remember President Obama talking about that. It doesn't matter what you've achieved, your child will humble you.
will humble. And so, like I said, it's a time where right now I'm growing and trying to find a redirection. But my kid's growing too, and she's stepping into a new light, which third grade, please bless me. Please. I'm just hoping that it's a good year. But
My
I've
son,
learned.
my son, who's my oldest, is he's going into sixth grade, so I have a middle schooler now, and then my baby, he's going into third grade. But my oldest said third grade was his favorite year. So tell your daughter that it's been his favorite. It's been his highlight.
I pray that third grade, because they do all this state testing, and I'm like, oh, it's gonna stress her out with the state.
But that's the thing, and that's his life is so can be so complex because you do the state testing, right,
Mm-hmm.
and it can tell they I've heard that they build prisons off of third grade test scores, and a lot of the kids who do well in the testing end up some of them do well on paper in life. I mean, but
Mm-hmm.
what so much of that is
Mm-hmm.
I have a friend of mine who she talks about her intelligence not great. Like she's very down on herself because she doesn't have the physical trappings of what the world says is intelligent, like multiple
Mm-hmm.
degrees and all that other stuff, right? And so she talks about her intelligence in a way that breaks my heart, to be honest with you, because I find her very smart and very wise.
Mm-hmm.
And what I try to tell her is the only difference between how I see myself and how you see yourself
Mm-hmm.
is people told me at a young age that I was smart because of the standardized tests. But it's not the standardized test that necessarily meant I was smart because I was performing to the test. Trust me.
I mean, let me tell you, third grade for me was not for the weak, okay, and testing was not my forte. You
No,
know.
my mom got me really good to game the system. Like I did really well. My mom was great at getting workbooks and showing me what I needed to do to be successful on a test. Absolutely. And because as a person of color, you have to be twice. You get the parent
You
telling
get
you have to be twice as good.
yeah.
I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't afford to not do well on testing because I would be held back if not. And so, I mean, held back in life if not. And so, but what it does is it gets people to speak to you in a way that is very positive. So even when I
Mm-hmm.
had down times, I remember having to drop out of college because I didn't have any money at one point. And, even when I was listless, even when I was floating around in life, even when I did have a failure, so many people had spoken into me, you're smart, you're capable.
Mm-hmm.
So I could always pull that even at my low points. And so I think it's really important, even, in our 30s and 40s, to change how we speak to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I had imposter syndrome. I was an intern I was an intern with imposter syndrome. I'm an intern and I have imposter syndrome to be an intern. And yet when I got to the highest points in my life, either being an
Mhm.
executive or owning my own business, I didn't have imposter syndrome.
Oh,
Why? You would think, right? As I got higher up, it would, and there was a little point when I was like probably around like a senior manager that there was a little
mhm.
bit, but
Mhm.
therapy,
Therapy.
I'm
I love
I'm a huge
therapy.
proponent of therapy. I really took therapy seriously during COVID. Therapy and then prayer and seeing myself how God created me to be,
Mhm.
that gave me the confidence to be able to show up as a leader. And so here it was at the highest points of my life where I should have been the most uncomfortable and should have had the imposter syndrome. I felt comfortable. And I was in rooms where I'm the only person. I worked in New England. So I am the only person of color. I am the youngest person usually in the room, and I'm usually the only woman. I'm labor negotiator. Like I'm the only woman. I'm negotiating on these
I
deals.
don't I
I
don't know
don't
how you did
feel.
it. I don't know how you
I
did it
don't feel.
because
It's really leaning into who God created me to be. I'm just being honest. I know that sounds like put together or whatever, but it's
no,
it's
not
it's
for me. I see it for what you're seeing it right now
yeah.
because it is true. You need to speak life into yourself, whether
Mm-hmm.
you're having a down day or, and I'm kind of working on that with myself because I'm like, okay, I know today is going to be a good day. Like I kind of get some time to myself before I go into work and I'm like, okay, today's going to be a good day. You know, you're great. You're amazing. And I'm even doing affirmations with my daughter each day, like right before she goes into school, speaking life into her because
Yeah.
I'm like, there's going to be somebody that is probably not comfortable with themselves. And in order for them to make themselves feel comfortable, they
Oh
have
my
to
God.
make
Yeah.
somebody else feel less
Yeah.
than. And I'm trying to teach her that now before she goes into third grade a little bit more because, when you're in kindergarten, first grade, you're like, oh, these are my friends. Hi, I'm friendly with
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah.
And then once you get into second grade, you're starting to see like, hold up,
Yeah. Right.
I'm
Right.
friendly, but not everybody else. And she gets that from me because still to this day, I am like, oh, this is my friend, and this is a really good friend. And I've had people show me who they are multiple times.
Oh
Like,
yeah. No,
like
definitely.
God has planted, and it's like, hey man, this person ain't really your friend.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh no, they are my friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's my best friend in the whole. She wouldn't do this to me. And
Yeah.
I'm like, God is like, are you dumb? What are you? Do you need to stop? Do you need to hit the stop sign in front of you? And
No, I don't.
so,
I don't think I would ask you if you're dumb because he already knows. He already knows how we're wired. He already knows the beginning.
mhm.
And so I go through the same thing as you. I go to the same thing because I want to see the best in people because I hope people see the best in me.
Mhm.
Um, we want to give that grace because we've been given grace so freely, but there's got to be discernment with it. And so even now, if I have to be around somebody
Mhm.
who I don't fully trust, I'm okay saying like to myself, I don't fully trust this person. So they're gonna be at a
Mhm.
perimeter. They're gonna know they're at a perimeter. They're
See,
gonna be
like
at a perimeter. Yeah.
what's crazy for me, like how we're speaking about God right now, because I prayed a prayer one night and I said, you know what, God, remove people out of my life that just don't serve me no purpose in my life
Yeah.
no more. I was getting
Yeah.
fed up. I was like, at this point, I'm being the friend that the 2 a.m. calls or, hey, you got paid today. Can you shoot me $60? I got you. All this. And I was like,
Mm.
remove people out I just remove them out my life. And so all of a sudden, people start trickling away from me. And I was like, I prayed this prayer and I said, this person ain't called me and like, but the moment something goes down, you wanna call me and be like, hey, what are you doing? Like, I haven't talked to you in months. And I'm like, there's a reason he did that. He did that
Yeah.
to show me that this person isn't genuine and they just aren't they're not meant to be in your life. They're just not. And so it's a season that you have to go through. And I like how you talked about how you redefined your success and how you had faith coming into your faith teaches you a lot in life. It teaches you how to be patient, how to be humble, how to be loved, how to give that love back. Uh,
Right.
and just have fun in life. Like I'm still in this, like I said, I'm still in this phase where I'm like, hey man, I need a trip. I need a trip. I need to go somewhere, get out of this state. But I'm learning that I've prayed for patience. And maybe it's not my time to go on that trip. Maybe later on in life it will be meant for me to go into this trip. So I'm learning how to have a lot of discernment and how to bring faith into a lot of things and not be so um trusting with
Yeah,
certain.
and I think God gives wisdom. God gives us wisdom if we'll search for it. But the problem is, a lot of us are so distracted,
Mhm,
we can't hear. The voice is going, but it's like
mhm,
the story of Elijah, right? It wasn't God wasn't speaking in the mountain, and he wasn't speaking in the earthquake. He wasn't speaking in the roaring wind. He was speaking. It was a gentle whisper.
mhm,
And a lot of how we live life now, especially in this country, we're going, going, going. There's so much technology, we cannot hear the gentle whisper. And
that's
so
true.
in some of the more contentious parts of my life where I've had to make really big decisions that affect a lot of people,
Mhm,
um, and including even now, like what I do for work now, my business, I'm affecting people's livelihoods. Like what their life looks like. Someone comes to me and they're I've built this brand, I've built this content creator, built this brand, how do I go to the next level? That could change their whole legacy. Like their
mhm,
children's children live different. And because of that, I have to be able to hear wisdom clearly. And so I always tell people, start with 5 minutes, work your way up to 10, and then just complete stillness. And sometimes I fall asleep. And then sometimes I hear, sometimes I know, sometimes I feel, sometimes I remember. I try to write something down afterward. And it's not about, some people like, oh, it's, is that weird? It's not. Even if you're a Christian, the Bible tells us to meditate on the word. Sometimes it's picking a verse and meditating on it, but it's
mhm,
having that moment of clarity that allows you to be intentional. Like
mhm,
you say you want to go on vacation. Um, it's allowing you to be really intentional. The biggest example clearest example I've ever seen of that for me was my husband and I were looking for our first home, and we were looking for months and we just couldn't find any place that we liked. We couldn't land any place.
mhm,
And then I said, what's the most important factor? And, he said, location, location, location. And so once we said, okay, this is where we want to live, and we narrowed it
mhm,
down to one town, the next morning we found our house. The next morning, but it was because our attention was divided between 10 towns. And once we narrowed it down, that house became readily apparent. I think that so much of life is like having goals, goals that are
mhm,
full, not just goals that are monetary, not just goals that are impress people, but goals that are represent who you are, the fullness of who you are and who you were created to be.
mhm,
Having the goals and then being really intentional toward them and shutting out things that don't align with that goal and not being distracted. Like life, the winner is the person who can be most focused. That's
hmm.
who's going to win. I tell my kids that all the time, especially with the distractions their generation has. The kid
Mhm.
who focus, and I know one of my children has ADHD, so there's a lot to ask. Um, but
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 they no matter what the child goes through, I think whether it's dyslexia or ADHD or speech therapy, they come out the smartest kid.
yep, yep.
They come out eventually being like this millionaire, or they created this bot, the
And
little
that's the thing
robot.
I have to do with him is like, I have to keep who God created him. God didn't create him to be, neurotypical. He created him neurodivergent. So I have to
Yep.
work within that and honor that while still giving him nice guidelines and guardrails too. And I think that's most of parenting, right? Like
Mhm.
honoring who your child is, who they are created to be, but then giving them the safety and the guardrails and the instruction along the way.
And the other thing is allow them to express themselves a little more.
No,
We've been
not
so
fully.
not
That's
fully,
one of the guardrails.
not fully, but in I would say in many doses you can express yourself. Because my daughter, she express, she express, she's.
My son will tell me something. I'm like, You felt comfortable telling me that? Like I'm flattered, but I would never have told my mom that piece of information. It's crazy.
Oh man, and it's crazy to see them grow up because I'm like, back when I was a kid, we did this, this, and this, and she's like, ew.
In the 1900s.
I'm like, I'm not that old, I'm not that seasoned. But before we wrap up our lovely conversation this morning, I wanted to do a rapid fire with you on a couple things. So I am going to read out a sentence and you finish these sentences. Okay. All right. So I feel most like myself when
I'm dancing.
is it that 24 karat?
No,
When you're
I'm half
dancing.
Caribbean. Half Caribbean. My mom is from the Bahamas. Her father's from Turks and Caicos. And so I was my college dance team, I was a cheerleader. Like I have to be like music. I have to be music and it has to be moving through me for me to feel like fully
I love
myself.
music. I'm telling you, if I can get my hands, anybody want to sponsor me a violin? Please. If I can get my hands back on another violin, um, my goal that I want to do accomplish like in the next couple months, I want to meet Damien Escobar. Like I have to manifest him into my podcast because the way he plays this violin, I'm like, that should have been me. Okay. I like it. So yes, dancing I feel is healthy. I feel
Mm.
dancing releases all the negativity out your body. You can just have fun.
And I feel powerful in a very feminine way. It
Mhm,
balances out what I do negotiating contracts and
mhm.
all that other stuff. It balances that out really well.
Yeah, it does. Because I feel like sometimes I wish I'm like, if I had a little music just to get me through the workday, I think my day would be a lot smoother. But because we gotta be on the phones all day talking to people, we can't do that. Women need to stop apologizing for.
Existing. I realize if life gets so interesting if you stop and just observe. Like observe yourself, observe your interactions, observe other people's interactions. Life gets so interesting. I think that's like a lot of what I do currently, a lot of what I've done my whole life with like negotiations and mediation and things like that.
Mhm.
Um, and positioning people and strategy is because it's a result of observing. I
Mhm.
observe a lot of what's going on in life. I observe how people move, how they interact. And a lot of women, myself included, we apologize for just being in a place. I'm walking on this side of the thing. I'm apologizing because I'm existing. I'm sorry. I walk straight and you happen to be there?
Are
I'm
you
sorry.
my, are you
Excuse
my
me.
twin? Are you my twin? 'Cause I apologize so much. It's gotten to the point my spouse be like, "Stop apologizing," and I'm like, "I'm sorry," He's like, "Stop it! Stop apologizing."
And if you observe, men don't do it as often. It doesn't make them, I'm not trying to say who's right or wrong, but
Mhm.
men almost, I mean, unless they like slam into you, they do not,
They don't.
do not apologize because they,
Never, and they never
right.
feel like they're wrong.
I won't, God. I feel like men end up having to apologize a lot. A lot of men end up having, I feel like a lot of men I know end up having to apologize a lot for a lot of things.
The
But
word
some men,
apology sometimes is like, I'm like, so you're apologizing, or you're just I apologize. I'm like, that's not sincere. We're gonna walk back, come back to each other, and then we're gonna much better apologizing. I just think you're wrong. Oh, well, we didn't say. We listen and we don't judge. Okay? Apologize. Two
yeah,
words.
I do feel like women end up apologizing very often for existing. It's the
Mm-hmm.
existence that women end up apologizing. We're taking up space. I noticed that with me yesterday, just coming out of the gym. I noticed that like it's interesting.
But you're just coming off the gym. No,
I, I'm walking, the two people are walking and slowly I'm cutting in between. So I need to be able to say, I'm so sorry.
let's see. I got another one for you. Success today means.
Doing something you can be actually proud of, that you are proud of, not everyone else is proud of, that you are proud of, that honors like the little girl or boy inside of you.
I like that. I like that. You have to sometimes say that you're doing a great job without saying you're doing a great job. You
Yeah.
know, I think
It's really
when
hard. Yeah.
it is hard, especially when and no clock to men. Men, you're awesome. But sometimes as women, I feel like, you know, you have, like I said, the different pots that you have to keep watering and growing. You have to be the parent, be the nurse, be the doctor, be the lawyer, be the friend, be the
Yeah.
sister. Um, but when it comes back to watering yourself, you're not really fully watering yourself. You know,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
still always teetering at the half cup. And I feel like women should still continue going after their own dreams. We're in a time where I feel like women can achieve anything that they want to achieve. Whether you want to be the best
Yeah.
construction worker, you can go for it. And I think we're in these male dominant places where it's time for the male dominant places to kind of just like, women can do it too. It's not a bad thing to share that cake with a woman or
Yeah.
share that plate and say, okay, well, today I'm not really good at this. How about you come in and you do this? You know, take the load off for me. It's not
Yeah.
hard. It's
Yeah.
not a bad thing. And
Yeah.
then um my younger self will be proud because
My younger self will be proud of the journey that I took. I think I've done a lot of things in my life that I wasn't qualified to do on paper, or shouldn't have been able to do, or was the only one, or I think my younger self will be really proud of the way I go after things. And because it's just a realization that, like,
Mhm.
this is our life. This, I don't know what happens after this. I'm assuming there's an afterlife and we go to be with God, but some people believe that, you have reincarnation, but we don't know. This is what we
Mhm.
know. Why would I waste that? Why would I play around with that? Why would I
Mhm.
not try something? Why would I not go somewhere I wanted to go? Why would I not do something I wanted to do and make it happen? Whether it's a year from now, 5 years from now, why would I not do that when
Mhm.
this is what I have? This is what I know. Why would
Mhm.
I play around with that?
I think realistically, we're in a time again where it's technology is going faster than before.
Yeah.
AI is coming into fruition a lot faster. And I think they're trying to put AI into our lives to think it's a quick fix, but it's not necessarily a quick fix because still gotta find a way to fix it.
Right.
Before we wrap up, I would like for you to give some encouragement to our listeners. Reason why I'm asking this is because sometimes we listen and we don't really hear intentionally what's meant for us or what needs to guide us. So if you can leave an encouraging note for our listeners today, I would greatly appreciate it.
Sure. I think the most encouraging thing I can say to the listeners is, please treat your life like this is the one that you have. If there are things that are dragging you down, things that you don't like about your current life, you can change it. It may not mean something you can change tomorrow. It may
Mm-hmm.
mean baby steps, but you can change it. But it's your mind. Like, you have to believe it here. If I'm saying this to you and you're hearing me say that you can change your life, and
Mm-hmm.
you're thinking of all the ways you can't, that's the first thing that needs to change. Because what you say, the Bible says the power of life and death is in the tongue.
Mm-hmm.
And what you say, what you speak, as you think, that's what will happen. And so this is your only life. I would hope and I pray that you would live a life that's authentic to who God called you to be, that you want to live, that you're not living a life where you're trudging through day by day. Every day can't be a high, right?
Right.
But you're not trudging through every day. You've built a life that is enjoyable. Like, you enjoy your life. You deserve to. I don't care what anyone else has ever told you. You deserve to enjoy your existence. And it should matter. It should be meaningful. And so, if there's one thing you can do today, do that one thing. Pick one thing you can do today that can take a step. Whether it's cutting out sugar, whether it's walking, whether it's getting better sleep. But one thing
Mm-hmm.
you can do today to get you closer to that goal.
I like that for the listeners. And if you're listening, like I said, this conversation has been an amazing conversation to hear. I know that this podcast is going to manifest in a way that is going to help build people in the
Mm,
right direction. And to know that what you just said is having that fulfillment in your life. Because, like you
yeah.
said, the power of the tongue, it really it really does change when you're talking negative towards yourself or when you're talking even positive for yourself. It is in the power of the tongue, and manifesting has been something really huge. So I agree, picking one thing and trying to figure it out is the best way to figure things out. So without further ado, we are ending our shit show. This thing. I end it because it's funny. But I want to thank you for coming on the show with me. I'm so excited for everyone to listening to this conversation. I used to say on my old podcast, hey, we're in it for a roller coaster. And you guys are in it for a roller coaster on the Balance with Erika B. If you haven't listened to any of my previous episodes, go check it out on my YouTube. And I'm streaming everywhere, by the way. Before we wrap up, can you tell us where we can follow you?
Sure. So you can go to the website rewritebrand.com. So it's rewritebrand.com. You can find out all the ways to contact me there. And what else? Book a free discovery call. And if you're someone who is a content creator, an author, professional, an entrepreneur, a founder, just reach out and we talk about positioning. What does it look like to have? What's the strategy? What do you really want to do in this life? And how can I help eliminate the noise and position you for financial and personal success?
Well, you guys heard her. Go follow her too. She's awesome. She's amazing. Anyways, like I stated, you're about to be in for a roller coaster with this podcast. Just saying, because it was formerly known as the Balance Boss Mom podcast and now has elevated to the Balance with Erika B. Until next time, keep loving on yourself, stay with God first, and keep on that faith, and know that no matter what ends up happening in life, you're going to achieve, and just believe and have fun. Have fun in life. That's what I'm going to end on today's note. So again, thank you for coming on to the Balance with Erika B. Until next time, bye guys.
Bye. Thank you.